Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANs processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
One of the things to consider when we speak about going to space is what do we define the space as? And what do we see or what we consider as a space? We take a space in our physical body on this planet, and at the same time, within the structure of our physical body, there is another dimension of life which we call the soul of the man. And even though it lives within the space dimensions of the body of the man, has its own life and has its own line of communication. And what we define space, going to space, we already know the inner sanctum or the creator of our physicality travels the depth of the universe, has been the space travel all the time, has a line of communication with other parts of us, be it through dream we call it, or through subconscious, some people they call it, or we have the choice that physically move the physicality with its soul. In a way, we have a bird caged in the physicality of the body of man, and that bird is called the soul of the man. We can open that cage and let it loose at the point of death. When the operation of this cage rots away, and it cannot hold together, and this beautiful bird becomes free. Still, it takes life in the universal dimension, because it has a life. It exists on its own. Or we can carry the cage in a box and take it anywhere. I can take a bird cage in the car, I can take a bird cage in my hand and walk around the park. It doesn't change the entity and existence of that bird. It's still a bird, still sings, still communicates with other birds in the park, And this is how our soul is. So we give option. Those who understand the process of the creation can take that cage, that bird, out of the cage and free it, because we trusted it come back in. It's very much when you have a parrot at home, you open the door, you let him fly around the house, and he comes back again and he goes in the cage. Because you trust it. It knows that's where it belongs to. And this is the process that we have made an option to man. The soul of the man is that bird, but is encaged in physicality of body of man. And for the first time, man knows, man can see that it's him who hasn't trusted the bird to be freed. And it has come the time that he does not need to see the cage to break up, to rust, that the bird can fly out, or by accident open the cage's door is open and the bird flies out. That accident is when we die on the street. The bird cage opens up. That bird still gets freed. But now we are teaching how the man has control over this door of the cage. And he trusts that the soul will come back to the body. Or the bird will stay, that it can create that atmosphere of the home, the cage. This is the problem we have, and this is what we call it different ways of traveling. But to be able to free that bird without accident, or when the cage cracks, rust, and we call it death, we are teaching how to be able to control, to trust that that bird, when we release it, can come home, or can make a home that we can go to. When my children were young, 4 or 5 years old, they wanted a bird, a cockatoo. I bought them a cockatoo. And this bird in the cage was very young, few weeks old when we got him. And we used to let it free in the house. He knew he goes back in and he sleeps there and he lays egg there. And it came to the point, because of the diseases carried, we had to, the doctors told us, this bird cannot stay in the house because it's causing problem in the house, health problems. So we decided that we loved the bird. We didn't want to let it go, it was part of us. So we decided, if we let it free, it will die, because he didn't know how to look after himself, because he was hand-fed. We decided we'd take him to a sanctuary, and we give it to a sanctuary to be kept. We carried the cage across a park, and as we were walking to go to the sanctuary in the park to be given to them, an old lady saw us. She says, "Oh, what a beautiful bird." We said, "We have a problem, we love him, but if you leave him here, we don't know if you see him." She says, "I'll look after it, give it to me. You can come and see it anytime you like." And it was just like a gift. So we got the old lady in the car, we went to her house, we put the cage there, we showed them how to look after the bird, and the bird was free again in the room. And every now and then, children said, "Papa, can we go and see him?" So we called the lady, we go and see him, and the bird is there. And it was a new home, it was our home. And this is how the soul of the man should be. Is trusting that where he goes, he can make a home for us. So in this process, we are teaching different ways of freeing the bird, or carrying the cage. The bird is still there. If you want to carry a cage and go somewhere, you get in the car. That's your spaceship. Still the cage is there and the bird inside. The cage is the body of the man and the bird is the soul of the man. Because we haven't trusted that we get the bird back. We carry the cage in the spaceship. Or there is another line of teaching, which is the understanding the structure of the cage, that you can make the cage not to rot, that then it frees the bird, but it can open up and you can carry the bird is free, you don't need to fuel it, you don't need to do anything, it travels the space of the room, the space of the garden, the space of the city, and it comes back home again. In a way, when we teach about the soul of the man, is in getting the man to trust himself. And to trust himself, he has to become detached. Has to come detached from physicality, detached from the wealth, detached from everything else. That the wealth is within me, not belonging to me. And this is where every man makes a mistake. In many of the teachings I have referred, if you understand that you can put the soul of the man to act with the soul of physicality of the man, you can make anything you like. The soul of the man is the sun, and the soul of physicality in the palm of the hand of the man is the earth. You move it in the direction, you create water, you create food, but you don't need to have it. It creates the energy that the physicality of the man can absorb. We give the earth in the hand, in the palm of the man. He creates what he needs, he takes what he needs from it. Then, if you understand this, you allow the soul of the man to carry the soul of the physicality of the man with it, and whenever it comes, it makes that hand, that palm, 1,000 meter, 1 meter, in a cage of physicality or in a cage of non-dimension. So, it's not methods of flight, it's the method of man understanding his own potential, his own grace. So, because we have so many people who are so physically attached, we teach about the spaceship for years. This is what it was. They still wanted to see they can get into something. But, as I said, I teach for the universe, not for the man. What we teach in the dimension of soul of the man, many travelers of the universe which hear the soul of me are educated, they understand what they missed. But, as this is the last time we bring a messenger on earth, we teach everything for mankind to carry. All the rules are in the book. There shall be no more messages. It's for man to translate knowledge. Scientifically, and then through the understanding of the soul of the man. What we call theology, ethics. Ethics of using the science in a way that does not harm no one, but it implies and applies the survival of the others. I was talking about this a few days ago, that there is a paper written by me, the station of the scientist as a prophet. The prophets we call Muhammad, Christ or anybody, are for the soul of the man, conduct of the behavior. Scientists like beautiful Tesla and others are to elevate the same, but the physicality of the man. This time we have put the two together in one go, then there is no difference. We teach the ethics, the soul conduct and physicality. It's for the man to understand where the two merge and when it's needed to be done. The totality which counts, not the individuality. What you can serve counts, not what serves you. So in this way, if you are physical, we have given you the spaceship, all these reactors. If you have moved in the dimension of understanding part of it, you have the dynamic system, you get some energies, you put a glass of water, you mix the energy and something else together, you're still the camel bird. You put the orange, take the energy, but you still want that the physicality that you're doing something with it, you drink the water. And for the soul of those who understand the totality, then they don't need the cage. They're the free bird. And this is the essence of all the teaching. It's not different ways of flight, is understanding the existence of the universe. Then if you travel with a spaceship, who do you see? The citizens of the universe in a physical dimension. If you travel with the soul that you can create the physicality, you take that out of the equation. You travel, but you know you have connection with everybody. It's very much, as I said once, it's like you get out of London and you go to New York. You're there on your own, but you still pick your phone and speak to the family in London. It's not finished. Now, the soul of the man, given the man the same opportunity. We teach for the time to come. And we teach from now till that time to come. And that time comes, is not anymore the end of the world, something will happen. It's the maturity of the one's understanding of his own creation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 504th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, September 21st, 2023. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name's Rick Crammond, and I'll be host once again in this weekly series of workshops. And once again, of course, we have Mr. Mehran Keshe to join us here and lead us through another fascinating workshop here. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you ready to go for today?
Yes. Good morning, good day to you as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers from the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. We welcome you back, as usual, to share and to understand and to, in a way, make some progress, understanding more about our own life. On this planet, we have done enough work to understand when the weather changes, when it's going to be a rain, when it's going to be sun, how the hills, how they were built, and how mountains were created, and oceans where it was dry and wet, and cycles of ice age and the rest of it. But we never try to understand about the soul. How does it operate? What happens when it interacts different way? What happens when it interacts different way to other objects and the rest of it? And a few days ago, I was looking at something very interesting, and he brought a breath of fresh air, because I looked at this years and years ago when I was a student, and it was part of the life to understand more. We call it desert. Barren, nothing on it. And we call it the surface of the moon. Barren, nothing on it. Other planets, we call it oceans, liquids, and we call it water on this earth and oceans, to our understanding. But if you look at it, how come we have deserts on earth? What field interactions creates them? What condition of the soul of the earth and the soul physicality of the earth leads to the physicality of the desert? Which shows still I'm part of the universe. I follow the same. A little bit of twist on one side gives you the fourth season, but still the same. In a direction, in a dimension of what we call the twist, the angle decline or inclination of the earth. So in a way, if we twist the earth back to its normal position, vertical, this planet will be barren. Will be nothing on it. And maybe is, as I said in the teaching of yesterday, last week, will be the same as where many of you landed and called it the moon. Maybe that's a condition of our soul when we land. We create a barren solar system which carries no life. Our life, when you look at it, the change between our life and the animals with the 4 legs is how many times that we can go vertical and horizontal. And the interaction of the fields of the planet with our soul, with our brain, has created variation in dimension of the field strength. We call it intelligence. What would you do if you become that planet, you become that star, and you remember Earth? If I stay in one position, I stay barren. Or would I create life in the essence of the creation? Or I have to change something inside to show a different dimension outside. Scientifically, if you understand, if you change characteristics of the inner magnetic fields of the Earth, you don't need to turn the Earth a few degrees to create the 4 seasons. You change the strength, you change something inside the center of the Earth. It will create maybe much better, greener, total green planet, even though it's still vertical rotation. So what's inside counts and not what looks outside. In the coming weeks, not months, we will show such a planetary system. The Keshe Foundation Research and Development is targeting to that point, where we don't need to rain out. We attach to, we bring it to be, we make it close. We can make a system that on the surface of it is all coal, or on the surface of it is all omega-3, we call it the ocean, and we don't need the interaction of outside. Within the new system getting developed, we can create a condition of the heart. We can create a condition of the kidney. In a way, the knowledge of the Keshe Foundation research team has reached the point that we can create a creation within the creator. Initially, this was set up to be done years ago, and now we are back on track. The technology, the understanding is how we create the soul inside, and how we let the inside soul to interact with outside soul of physicality, and then we decide what we manifest to manifest itself, to show what it is. I can change the characteristics in a very beautiful way, and then I'll get the planet which just produces diamond, and it'll be the lover of every woman on this planet. They won't carry a diamond ring on their finger, but they carry a box in them that it creates diamond. Now becomes a new fashion. Or I can change the system that produces water all the time. It's a planetary of ocean. The knowledge and the understanding is to understand how to interact the two systems. The soul of the man and the soul of physicality of the man. And then you decide, I don't need to interact with outside to create me. I have to understand I have created me within how I look outside. Do I want to be visible? Do I want not to be visible? Would I like the top half to be green and the bottom half brown, as this planet does? We call it the green continent of Europe, and we call it the brown continent of Africa because of the dryness band of interaction of the fields. The knowledge of the man has reached a point that we even can decide how to elevate our souls, how we can increase the dimension of the field, the strength of the soul, that it changes the manifestation of physicality outside, even though the soul of physicality stays the same. In the coming weeks and months, we'll bring a revolution in understanding of the science of the man of his own creation. And then man will understand where we got, where we're going to. In London conference, you will see a new dimension in science, more or less interaction of the fields, what in the last stage will be. In the Beijing conference, we manifest the creation of the latest technologies that man cannot even dream, cannot even comprehend their existence. We have appointed one of the leading agencies in the world to promote both conferences. Instead of knowledge seekers knocking on every embassy, one of the most reputable, what we call public relations companies in the world, will invite the world leaders to see their own souls, operation of their physicality in Beijing. In London, we show you how the last stage of the physicality of the man will be. As I said before, the knowledge has reached the point that in the coming days and weeks, we'll separate the two and then merge it together, that you choose in what shape and form you want to exist. You choose if I want the elevation of my soul, or what I dreamt to be a desert and I put the sand in my pocket and I held the stone in my hand is not for me. But one question to ask yourself, what is hidden within that deserted island? In that deserted planet, in that place which you create, what do I need to create within me that the planet I create will not do what the man did on his own? How much change and what I need to reach to that point. But in a way, if we all reach the same point, it'll become what Mr. Ford said a century ago. You can have any car, any color you like, as long as it's black, because we have no other color. Then you all want to have a green planet, and then all have to be this and that. But let your soul elevate. Let's understand the process of creation, and then see if we will all like to be the green planet. What is the beauty within a brown planet? What is the beauty within an ocean planet? And how much we need to do to achieve to that point. Achieving the point of understanding the point of creation, we call it the heaven. And when we fail to that point, we call it hell. And the prophet of the past could not tell you this because you did not have the comprehension of it. You could not understand it's within me to create the heaven and hell, and it's me who decides to reach the level of understanding of my own creation to what I call manifestation of myself, a nearness to the Creator. So in the term of the man, they created the fire and everything else that you'll be burned and the rest of it to put man on the track. Put man on his understanding of try not to go too far, but some still do because they've already been burned in the dimension of physicality in every essence of from emotion to physicality, and nothing has changed. They see themselves alone. They see themselves as abandoned. And then if you learn, if you understand, that is me who can change that within me, not by my thoughts, not by medication and the rest, but by elevation of the fields, the strength of within me. Then you come to understand, I am the creator. I am the creator of me. Even though my physicality was put together in another position, now I have the essence, I have the power, I have the understanding to change. Not by makeups and the frock of the man, but by elevation of the soul of the man. And this is all about you for yourself. Nobody can give you a system and nobody can teach you unless you come to the point of understanding of the totality of the creation yourself. Now you understand. Now you come to understand how far in the process of the teaching of the work of the universe, as knowledge seekers of today and the knowledge seekers of the tomorrow, when you will listen to these teachings, understand the beginning and the end is me, and it's me who decides where this begins and where this ends. Would I like it to end in the dimension of physicality and no control? Or do I guide it to get into the pastures of my own wish, of my own existence? And not everything has to be as green, because sooner or later you get fed up of living in a green place. It rains, it's humid. You want the shores of the sands of the Caribbean or Spain or somewhere to be warm. You prefer the sandy desert with the water. And then you come to understand it's me who decides. Even I have everything. I have to create a diversity to be able to understand, to survive the life. When we used to live in Italy, some of those who've been to where we used to live, in the north of Italy, we used to get fed up living in this house. We used to get in the car and drive around Lake Lagada and book into the hotel or a cab, or what they call the small places to stay for overnight, or stay for a weekend. When we used to give them the rest, they used to say, you live in that place and you come here to stay here. We used to say, we get fed up of living there. We have everything. We have the gardens. We have everything. Those of you who've been there knows how we used to live. You get fed up. Consistency brings a change, even a few meters away. So what do? You go somewhere else to be different, to get different air. And only about maybe 3-4 kilometers. But you get fed up of keeping that everything you want to be in it. They change. Sometimes it doesn't mean to be higher. Sometimes it means to go lower to understand what it means to be there and who you can guide to be up there. We are used to paying the beggars with the money on the street. But what about next time when you meet a beggar, try to elevate the soul? Maybe his soul is even higher than you when you think, just because it's sitting in the corner. Then you understand truly who you are. Truly, what do you want in life? Truly, what do you want in life? Not in the matter state of physicality of today, but in the life of the soul of the man, in the dimension of the universe. Maybe the beggar is much more educated than you, but the dimension of pains of the physicality has brought him to be there. But inside, he is much, much higher elevated than you, that he has let everything go. I used to go to Manchester City Center Library, and when I was there 2 or 3 weeks ago with a conference of the knowledge seekers, I passed the library a few times. I said, this used to be my second home. I used to go to college all day till 5 o'clock, get a bus to the Central Library, study there till about 8, 9 when they used to shut and go back home to make sure I get to university and educate my physicality. And there was one man always stood outside Kentucky Chicken, outside the shop. He was mostly there. Long white beard, dirty, carrying carrier bags, as we know the tramps would call it. I got to know talking with him and others who know him. He was a professor in Manchester University years before, and he gave up on everything. As one of the top knowledgeable men, he saw nothing in the place of education and what he had, and he saw life to be living on the street, because it's where he found himself to be comfortable to live. Would we, as humans, become that trap? Or what we wear and what we do counts? Do we look at the physicality of the man? Or do we look in the essence of who the man is? Can we elevate him to serve in a way, not in one way, but for us to understand ourselves? For us to be, to understand what the soul means. I was talking to a knowledge seeker a few days ago, and said, Mr. Keshe, what's this, what you're doing this, the way you're doing this? I said, I'm detached. With all the wealth we created around the Keshe Foundation, with everything we put there, I still live in a hotel room, and I still have no car. But I get by, because I'm detached. I don't see it as a loss. I don't see it as a pain. I see it as a means to go to the next step. If anybody was in position of me, knowing how to make gold and do everything else, would have lived in palaces, but they worth nothing. Keeping the foundation going, teaching more, has more value than a brick and mortar and a roller of plastic. What do? We spend everything we have to elevate the soul of billions, to bring man to understand, because being on this planet for so long, we realize there's no value in physicality. Creating gold does not bring comfort. Elevating the soul of a man is worth more than tons of gold. That he becomes free. He becomes free from the physicality. Understand. Gathers the knowledge, and in that process, elevates and finds soul of himself and maybe his children, and teaches the children of the man for the future to find the path, to be able to be citizens of the universe. How far can we go? How far we need to go to elevate ourselves? How far do we need to have the understanding of the operation of the fields of the universe? And do we need to be attached to physicality? With the knowledge which we are reaching, with the knowledge which we are sharing with many of the knowledge seekers, what happened when you carry the units in your pocket or in the back of your car? You just change something and produces all the gold you need. You go to the shop, says, "There's a kilo of gold, give me this." Or change it to a diamond. You see a beautiful girl on the street and say, "I'll give you the biggest diamond in the world for you to marry me." Or you see a beggar on the street, you turn it and give it the water of life. Which one gives you more pleasure? To be existing in the dimension of the universe, to be citizens, the beautiful girl, or helping a man. But as our knowledge has increased, and the man does not become the totality, the citizens of the universe are that man. With the knowledge you have, would you be prejudiced if you see a soul of the man from earth in trouble? Would you treat it different than you see the soul of another creature of the universe in trouble? Or with the knowledge you have, you say both can have the same, to reach the same point as me. The detachment, the understanding of the elevation of the soul. And then when and how that soul live and exist counts. How you make a man counts, and not how the man is. Because man changes according to the seasons and the emotion. But a man who's solid in strength stays the same. Does not matter, rain or shine. I always said to my children, is that no one should know if you have £1,000 in your pocket or nothing. That should not change you, what you carry. This was one of the things, maybe one of the most memorable things I have from my father. At a very young age, 7, 8, he used to give me equivalent of thousands of pounds of today. Mehran, take this, when you go to school on the way back, buy this and this and this for what is going on in his life. And the first time my mom said, you don't do this with this child. He said he has to learn that the money doesn't change him. I used to get those days, thousands of pounds, put it in my school bag and go to school and throw the bag as far as I could and go and play. Nobody could imagine you can throw so much money away and go and pick it up later on and go and spend to buy the bricks and mortar and buildings that he was building for himself, and I was just a servant to his job. I understood the money in the bag has no value because it's not mine. I was just a carrier to serve his wishes. But this taught me a lot to become detached, because I used to walk in this little school bag, 8, 9 years old, maybe younger, go to school to play, and on the way home I used to pull the bag open and go to the merchant and say, oh, this is what my father said to pay you for this and that. They used to be shocked. They used to tell my dad, it's too dangerous. He said he's a man on his own at this age. He knows what he's doing. Detachment needs training, needs understanding. Does not mean go and give all your wealth away. Increase the wealth of the knowledge. Increase the worth of understanding the soul. And then you're detached, because even you can make gold, it does not change you. I sat with some of the most powerful men in the world and created them what they could imagine, what they asked for. And I said to them, you think I cannot do this for myself? Why do you think I'm sitting in front of you? You're the most powerful military man in the world. Is with this, I want to change you to become me, that we can create peace. You're happy with this? I'm happy with that. Let's talk. It's not that we cannot do, it's to understand what is in our position that can bring us to the position of gathering knowledge, understanding more, and bringing that change, not for ourselves, but to be able to create the others to be the same. We are nothing but that plasma. The stronger gives to the weaker. And when we look at ourselves to be the stronger that we can give, it's the time that we have failed. We are always weaker in another dimension we call the creator. So what is in it? When we are weak, we see ourselves as strong. This is a pitfall of the man, pitfall of the emotion of the man in respect to the physical dimension of life. As in the dimension of universe, there is no weakness and there is no strength. It's a point of balancing, understanding to give what you do not need and to give what allows the others to gain better position than you in the dimension of the strength of the soul, to serve the totality of the creation, to in a way become a accommodator to serve the creator, which is you, and you're part of the creation. When we come to that point, when we are able to make systems that we can see how we are, we can see if we are higher or lower, we can see the dimension of the motion of our field, the soul and the soul of physicality, then we understand where we are, who we are. In the past 2 weeks, I had the pleasure of a number of knowledge seekers who came to see the structure of the soul. I watched as the graphs came in. I watched as I saw the dimension of the soul, as I watched how the struggle between the two, physicality and the soul and everything else. And it was amazing to see some were straight on the line, down to the line, equal and balanced. And you could see, I said to our operators, this one is a woman you don't want to be with, as she's so physical. She does not have any soul with her. The soul does not exist, where physicality in the diamond ring is more important than serving the priest. And when you see the fingerprint of another soul, total devotion, in a way, the soul being in charge, the soul being in a position to be able to control. You still see flickers, which is normal because the two have to switch to understand who is where and what is the balance and what is needed. And when you flip back, you can achieve the same balance. We have sent you, all of you, all the graphs which you have produced, so most of you should have received it by now. Just don't look at the lines. Understand about yourself. How you interact. And then go back during the time when you were on the system. What was your emotion? And what was your thought? As I said, nothing is hidden from us because we see how it works, how it is. You look at the graphs on the top, we look at the graphs on the bottom. How much you've taken and how much you're given, and what is the position of taking and giving. Once we make this system as common as today's ATM machines on the street, then you can assess yourself. You don't cash in money. You understand the state of your soul, the state of your emotion. And in a way, you take a guy to the machine and says, would you like to be tested? Not for IQ, but about the strength of your soul and what you tell me you love me. I have a machine at home which actually is a fingerprint of your soul. Then you understand why we don't need any judges and no prisons and what is to come. What some of you joined us in past 2 weeks to see the fingerprint of your soul. It's the eventuality of what will come for man in the time to come, but you'll be the judge of it. And you'll be reading the fingerprint of it with no system, as you get educated more and more to understand the totality. It's come to the point that as knowledge seekers, you're mature enough to understand what is the next step. In the London conference, we'll break a lot of taboos. In Beijing conference, we create a new dimension of knowledge and science and technology, where the man will understand himself. In the coming time, we shall create, controlling the dimension of field strength inside, any color, shape, size, hair, eye, body, skin, as you like. The virtual reality will become the reality. The knowledge is there. It's just that our knowledge seekers have to understand it, that I can teach them the next lesson, the next step. The way, as I explained, we can now make a system that create diamond and gold and dust and water. We can do the same by positioning to create the image of man. Sometimes when I look at these new robots, which is the latest and they do everything, I said to one of the knowledge seekers once, they haven't seen the robot of the soul yet. They have not understood what is to come. A robot is so physical that you don't even know that it's not a man. A robot with emotion. A robot with everything that a man could dream. And then I said to the knowledge seekers, I make them so beautiful that you fall in love with them and you want to marry them. They smiled. I said, but don't you think you already married the robot in the shape of a human? But this time, at least, does no sin and makes no mistake. As I said, the knowledge is there. And gradually, we are releasing the knowledge. I saw how magravs brought the greed of the man. And the old sayers always said, it's in the writing of Baha'u'llah, bless his name. We test the heat of the fire with gold to see how hot it is and if we can melt it. And then we use the same gold to understand the heat of the man, how greedy he is and how he'll behave. But when you assist that's in the matter state, in the energy or the soul state, we test the man by giving him everything in a dimension of the creation of the field strength. And then we see how the man behaves, how detached he becomes, and how he manages to bring the condition of the creation in the favor of the others. In a way, we change the gold with the energy, with the feel the strength of the soul of the man, and then we test them. We change the gold with the plasma, even though itself is a plasma in a different state. In the coming weeks and months, will bring a change in such a rapid way that man cannot even imagine. You have to understand how to change the fields. You have to understand how to manipulate the strength of the field to change that strength with you, within you, and understand it. I'm sure some of our knowledge seekers, soon the way they copied the maghreb and they made a living out of it and cheated the rest with, I'm doing this for the foundation. Many of you will try to copy the systems we'll release and now sell datas. And I wonder how many of the systems you produce ever will create a soul. In the coming time, as I said to one of our knowledge seekers, the time of the advanced technology is over, is finished, but knowledge seekers are still stuck with it. The essence of the creation sits within the structure of the universe. And for man to be able to become the true replicator of the work of the universe, he has to understand the essence of the basics, and no man up to now has. Because once you understand basic blocks of the creation, you can do and build any blocks you like. Try to understand the interaction of the fields and not a few electric currents. Once you understand the operation of the fields and you ignore that few volts and watts, then you're on the path to learn the next. As long as you're looking for the power to not to pay, you pay with your life. You pay with the time of a passage which cannot be replaced, and you're still in the doldrums of saving few watts. That if you understood the operation of the fields of the universe within you, you become the feeder, not the taker. You will create that watt for the others to have, not for you to be better off, to go to the next step to be worse off. If you look at the dimension and the field, the strength of the magnets we gave you, and you understand it, as I've said many times, you will change the dimension of the life. But unfortunately, you're still looking to make a few coils, and you've got your whole soul coiled and twisted in not understanding the truth about your own self. Look and understand how your soul operates. Look and understand how your soul of physicality operates. Sit and look. Can I change the color of my skin in a given position? Can I make myself tan without going to the beaches of Spain and Bahamas? Because I get that emotion of satisfaction. Then you understand how much you have become in control of your own dimensions. As one of our knowledge seekers in Balletto did, don't sit there and squeeze your eyes and head trying to move the cup. Understand you have to give the love of the Creator to the cup that it moves and pleases you. And the cup shall. When you see the magicians, they don't twist and turn their eyes and force something. They move their hands with elegance and a smile, and the things moves. Because in that smile they hide the magic. And man has not understood that about his own soul. Try to understand the systems which we have created for you to understand the structure of the soul, and not just to gain something in physicality. As long as you're in that dimension, you gain nothing. Once you understand the operation of the fields and the creation and direction of the soul of you with them, you'll find out these systems do everything you ever thought. Try in the coming times, as you receive the new systems which are getting released gradually out of the Keshe Foundation, to understand more about yourself, about how you gather energies from the universe, how you don't need a lung to convert them, but you need the dimension of the soul to absorb them. Instead of breathing the air and then taking this energy, changing your rhythm of the breathing to be able to free the soul of the man from the dimension of the soul of physicality, try to understand how you can absorb energies of the universe in one dimension, that you can bring that change in. How and which way you need to bring in the position of the soul of the man. In the test in past few weeks, we have seen beautiful characteristics. We can literally confirm a lot of things which man could not even imagine works within him. Monitoring, building new systems, changing them while even you are in it, has brought us the understanding, as we teach more and more, how and where and the way the soul of the man receives and gives. And interesting enough, we see more the man takes and the more he gives in two different dimensions and directions of his own physicality. In the coming time, we'll explain more and more, that you understand which way you can use your physicality to gain the elevation of the soul, or freedom of the soul, or transmute, or to be able rapidly to transmute, or rapidly to transfer yourself from one position to another. Scientifically, the patterns of the work of the soul of the man, through the tests that you have supported us with in past few months, has made that music, that ground for every pieces of the tiles to fit in. NASA uses billions of dollars in going through so many committees and groups or whatever to do one test. You knowledge seekers in the past year, through all these sessions you joined us, you have completed, and you're completing that mosaic of the, what I call the knowledge of the soul. And once it's complete, we share. In the process of past sessions, we can see how you receive fields, how you conduct the physical side, and how you can transmute between the two. We see when your soul is expanded, and we see when you battle between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man. And we see how easily some of you just go from one state to another, and then frightened or whatever, disturb, you go back and engage the bird. In some of the graphs, even when you are collectively, many of you in sessions, we see the shutdown. The system, none of your souls expand. It's like all of you switch off at the same time. It's like a cat suddenly jumps amongst the pigeons and they all fly. It's amazing how much we have learned from you about the conduct of your soul that we can show you and teach you in the time to come. We ask you to join these sessions. We give it a different name, but in a way we are looking at the pattern of the interaction of the souls individually and collectively, and how man will become passengers of the universe. In the past few weeks, tests which we've done with you, it has brought such amount of knowledge for our research team that they do not even understand most of it, and gradually is unraveling what is there and how it can be done. In a very near future, as you might see the first two systems in London, we can dictate the expansion of your soul by you and not by us. You can learn a lot about yourself. You can monitor your own behavior of the soul and physicality. And you decide at what point you like to let go of one or the other. In a way, you go on the field, you exercise, and then you think, oh, this is time I can run, and change the walk into running because you've done enough preparation. You know when the body is ready for it to go. The same is getting developed with your help, with us, working in the background to reach that point. The next few sessions, which the Keshe Foundation will announce that a lot of you joined, is for this purpose. For you to know more about yourself, collectively. And to come to the point of what we call being able to transmute. And then to see what we can do and how further we can push that more of you can reach that point in a different ways according to your understanding. In the coming weeks, we announce more of these collaborations between us and you, that it allows us to complete the system in a manner that brings prosperity and understanding to the work of the soul of the man and elevation of the soul of many. Today's teaching brought you a lot, if you understand it. I open your eyes to what is to come. And knowledge and technology which you could not even dream of, which is now is a reality. Which is now a process of creation. And I'm sure within the next few months, with you understanding more and our team understanding more, we will create systems which have no physical dimension. Very much like the planets and the stars. There is no motor to run them. There is no cage to rotate the content of inside, but it's all done with the fields. Our knowledge seekers have to understand it, that we can go further, otherwise it becomes a magic. And I think within the next few months, maybe in another conference in another part of the world, we'll show the first systems which have no containers, where you can see the field interaction, where you can sense the work of the universe. And then maybe at that point, you'll be able to interact with yourself, that you don't need to breathe and pinch bit by bit from atmosphere of this planet and the universe to strengthen and elevate your soul. I would like to share with you something, and if you understand it. And if you don't understand it, one day when this recording is listened to, some of you will say, this is what he was talking about. The position of the soul of the man within the center of the brain of the man has the same capacity, the same diameter. What sits in the center decides how compact this plasma is within the center of the body of the man. It's like when you get a ball and try to make that ball out of the cloth to fill in a box. It's very much like when you get the spaghetti. Those of you who eat spaghetti the Italian way, you never use a spoon to contain it. You pick a cooked spaghetti in between the fork fingers, you put it on a plate, and you twist it and twist it. At the beginning, the end of the spaghetti is somewhere in the plate, twisted and turned. And as you turn, the two ends of the spaghetti get tighter and tighter around the spoon and the fork. If you're a European, and you always have to twist it on the fork and the spoon together. The size of that plate will not change, but the amount of the spaghetti you twist around the fork will grow. Now imagine that bowl of spaghetti on the plate. By the way, if you don't know, Italians never eat spaghetti in the bowl. It's always served on a flat plate because you twist it. You don't need a spoon. If you get a big enough fork, put it in the middle of the spaghetti and twist it, you see all that loose things comes and strengthens around in the center, but the size of the plates is the same. This is the way the soul of the man is loose in the center, in one ball, the dimension of it in the center of the brain of the man. And your knowledge, you're gathering strength by breathing and eating, adding to it, puts that twist around it to tighten it, to strengthen it, and it becomes a knowledgeable, solid core. At the beginning is fluffy if you touch the spaghetti on the plate on every direction. But when it's twisted and tightened and strengthened, it's as solid as a football. And this is exactly how your soul is. At the beginning, it's that loose sponge. And when it gathers enough energy and twists itself to become solid, and gathers enough fields, then can overcome the field strength of the soul of physicality and it brings through. And when you dream is one of those strings, the end of it is still inside the spaghetti pile coming out, connected to the mother and the uncle and the rest. As it passes from one spaghetti to the other, together is a strength within the center of the fork. If you understand this, then you understand how your life is and how in the universe You need to understand to gather fields from the universe to be able to survive. And then you understand the soul of the man from the beginning is the same. As you are a child in a small size and you grow bigger and you become stronger, so is the soul of the man within the center of the brain of the man. It twists more and he gathers more strength. And when that strength reaches that it gathered enough, he can overcome the strength of the fields of the soul of physicality and the strength of the physicality of body man, and it leaves for his new destination. The fork, when it's tightened enough, is spaghetti on it, flies from the plate into your mouth. That's his final destination. The question is, where does your spaghetti of soul, of fields of the universe, will end up when the physicality of the man has no strength to hold on to it, and is strong enough to take his flight of fancy? And as I always said, what sauce have you put on it? Is it carbonara or bolognese? And the taste of it will come when it lands in the mouth, or when it lands its destination in the universe. Would it be enough to be a speck of dust, or would it be enough to create a new dimension of life? That depends on how much knowledge you gather about the work of your soul and nothing else. As the dimension of physicality is irrelevant, once you understand, you can feed the physicality through the dimension of the soul. I hope you understood where we are going, and I hope now you understand, as I said, the course of the teaching has changed, and it will change gradually to the point that most of the humanity, and especially the world leaders, understand the change which is to come. And then the change will come. Thank you very much for today. Ricky, if you would like to take us to a break, we'll come back.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe, once again, for delightful teaching there. A lot of deep information, deep teaching. Okay, this is the 504th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, September 21st, 2023. We'll take a few minutes break and be back shortly.
The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit. A plasma space technology to prepare humanity for transportation and transmutation in deep space. Essential processes are embedded to prevent mutations and psychosomatic conditions during deep space travel. This new system is designed to support upper body conditions, especially of the lungs and intestines, and can be targeted specifically for each organ. When inside the Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the body experiences balance in totality, enabling it to correct and rebalance all the fields within itself. The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a dimension in health and transportation never seen before. The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit is due to be launched in June 2022, and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology.
Okay, we're back again at the 504th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, and this is the second half of our show, which generally means Mr. Keshe is willing to answer questions from the audience, whether it's the attendees in our Zoom or people in the live stream or YouTube chats as well. And if you're in the Zoom, then of course you can put up your virtual hand and we can allow you to open the microphone so you can actually speak. Mr. Keshe, are you ready to begin? Is there something you'd like to say first?
Yes, thank you very much. We're working in the background to arrange a lot of things. As you've seen, there are 2 sessions put up by the Keshe Foundation. One is for the new dimensions of the soul and what we call the elevation of it. It's very important for us and for you to understand where it's going. Now you have more freedom and we can facilitate with the knowledge we have gained in what I call increase or allow you to go into what's called pre-transmutation phase. This is important as I said, we gather more and more information and we sit on different dimensions of understanding. The second session, which is to do with Corona, is that as we sit on this dimension of understanding of the work, we see a lot of knowledge seekers coming to us and talking about the effects and the side effects and what has happened to them after the Corona. There's a lot of research going on this. There's a lot of work going on this in the background by scientific organizations. We know what this does and we know what Corona can do and create and will create in the dimensions of physicality. And we're trying to see how we can help you, how we can process this in a different way through the new technology. We have calls from people who now in the hospitals are hospitalized on ventilating systems, that now the lung has collapsed back exactly the way it was in corona, but there is no sign of corona. A lot of people are losing their tooth or roots of their tooth out of nowhere. We see new conditions in the bone structure. As we know the corona is a calcium based, we understand how it is, and we try to support you. We try to change some new dimensions, new illnesses, new things appear in different ways. We try to support, we try to cover. And we see how we can support this further, and we can bring this into what we call backing the back end or the side effects of the corona, which now is becoming a worldwide problem. We are not what do you call it, a health program. We understand the work of the fields, and we try to support you with the same process that we did during the corona. This is becoming very critical with a lot of people. We see a lot of people asking for help if we can do things. A lot of children are affected. We try to see if through the interaction of the field of the plasma, we can bring wellness and happiness and joy back to life. But we have to see, and that's why we put this session on, to see how it works. This session with Corona, it will not be confined to one session. We'll try to extend it, we try to understand it, and we'll see where we go. As I said, we are in transit, so you get a lot of noise around me. We have to move from place to place in today's session, and I do apologize for that. So I have to move in different rooms or whatever I have to do. And I do apologize if you get some background noise during the process. In the work of the Keshe Foundation, we try to handle situations like Corona as it comes. And if we come to another phase of it now, there's a talk of a new type of Corona. We try to analyze it, we try to understand it, and if possible to intervene, if possible to come in to see, to understand, and try to see if we can bring the new technology to be applied. As I said, regarding the London conference, we usually come to knowledge seekers to do the helping us to support. We have come to engage a highly reputable organization that they will do everything in the background for us, from inviting the ambassadors to press to organizing everything else. Once we finalize this in the next few hours, then they will take over for the whole promotion of the Keshe Foundation program for London and Beijing. And this will bring a new dimension. We have engaged one of the largest promoting organization worldwide, and they understand our problem, they understand our work, and they're there to support us. And the venue has already been chosen, and it's one of the most prestigious places in London. We have chosen this place for a specific reason, which fits into our, what I call, work and what we want to do. And we see how we can expand and extend this to further positions. And a couple of other things that will go with our master meeting is that from now on, those of you who want to book for the Saturday event, Saturday night, to be there with ambassadors, you might find changes as the organizers now will take over in running it, and how and how much what they call seats will be available to knowledge seekers, as now it's become a, what do you call it, international affair, and we'll see how, where, and how we can bring things. There is not much I can tell you unless what do you call, something comes up, we'll let you know. In meanwhile, in the coming brackets of the work of the Keshe Foundation, the what we call LINS exhibition center shuts door for the last time on the 15th of October. And we'll be moving out of LINS exhibition center by the end of October. And we try to move this exhibition center into the City of London, which comes after the conference. And we'll see how it takes shape, and we'll give you a new destination and everything else to meet or go to see the new technologies, new systems, and the rest of it in the City of London. Yes, this exhibition is moving. It's its final days, and we'll shut door. We were supposed to do it a month ago, but we extended it for another few weeks. But end of this month, there will be an end to this exhibition center. We have launched a small change in those of you who, what do you call it, looking for some of the answers. New enhanced NEGANs has been launched as of this week. Very limited stock. We would like to see how it will become. It's much more powerful and is much more, what do you call it, you don't need to use it so frequently, and it has a much more power in changing the strength and what it's supposed to do. So this is what we have brought in. And those of you who asked us to be able to use the, what do you call it, the support we receive for paying for half of the, what do you call it, the course in London, we responded back to you, you have to complete it because we would like to close that case altogether. And then we might bring back in the promoters to bring more people into those sessions, as we see, and there are people who like to educate in that direction. There's still a few people we can help if you want to join in. Is there any question we'll try to answer?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Yes, there's lots of questions today. So let me see, let's start with YouTube. We have Filippo has a question. In the cup of the universe, there's a spot where we can pick up the emotions of the energy of CH3 kind of. My question, it's regarding that kind of neutron created from that CH3. What is it capable of?
Can you repeat?
I think there's, I think he's translating here, but it's a little broken. In the cup of the universe, there's a spot where we can pick up the emotions of the energy of CH3. My question is regarding, is it regarding that, or it's regarding that kind of neutron created from that CH3? What is it capable of? Does that make sense or not?
No, I'm lost.
Okay, well, Filippo, if you could rephrase your question, perhaps we can make better sense of it. Let's go on to Johan, who in the YouTube, who says, hello, Mr. Keshe, you are right to the extent that humans gain in the elevation of their being. However, don't you think that the Creator provided everything naturally in creation?
Yes, but man doesn't know how to use it. That's the problem. Everything has been there from the beginning. But man doesn't know how to use it. And in different ways, we learn from different scientists and people gradually how to use it. It's the same with the soul. Everything has been there from the day one. The intelligence has brought the change. I used to teach to children. The waterfall, always been there for millions of years. But man had no understanding of what he can do till they made the turbine, and now they can get energy out of it, and we call it electricity. And so it's the same. Every knowledge is there. It's when you become wise to it. When you gather the strength to become, to produce. And so nothing will change.
Johann goes on to say, we see where humanity's free will takes us. Isn't it time for humanity to take responsibility without appealing to things that still put it in God's place? Thank you for your reply. I think you've addressed that many times, actually, that it's time for humanity to take responsibility, for individuals to take responsibility.
Hello.
Yes, hi.
Hi. Do you hear me on 2 channels or 1 channel?
Just one right now, but I see both microphones are open.
Yeah, but did you hear me now on the other channel?
No.
No, it's very strange. The channels are open, but nothing goes on. Okay, no problem. And so, I lost the thread of thoughts. Can you go back on it?
Well, the question basically was, we see where humanity's free will takes us. So Johann says, isn't it time for humanity to take responsibility without appealing to things that still put it in God's place?
In physical life, that's the way I look at it. In physical life, we think we have no control and God does it. But in the dimension of the soul, it's all arranged, it's all agreed, and it's all moved. And this is what we have to come to understand. In physical life, we think all been organized, all needs or done in the background, but for the souls, everything is arranged, everything is agreed. And as I said in the teachings before, there's a very big pitfall with us, because we are very physical as a human, the human body. And that is, our body most of the time goes to places, does things, or gets involved in something, and we think we are right to do it, but we don't understand that it's already organized by the soul. You do something good and just do it because is good, is right to do. And then later on, something happens, something good happens to you. Says, oh, this was coincidental, but you don't remember what you did good, that you got what I call the bringing balance to it. When we put these away as coincidentally, when the good things happen to us, then we understand there's a bigger work in the background. Your soul brought you to that point to be tested. And you did something which, in that test, if you call it your past or you gain strength, you receive blessing, that it brought you back to the new position, that you see the new position gives you the pleasure you gave. It's in a living in the dimension of the soul is very much like loving, and there's no other comparison to it. If you are true lovers, the more you give to your lover, the more you receive back. But you don't give more to receive. You give more because you see the pleasure in the recipient when he receives it, how much he or she enjoys it. And this is the way the universe works. You don't cook for your partner his or her favorite food, that might you get her to do something for you. You cook it because of the pleasure she or he takes, and you see that joy in his face or his emotion or his words. That thank you, that's beautiful, you know how much I love this, and you spend time. And then that puts a seed for him to do something good or bad. There's nothing to do with what intention you created. But you do this, and then he comes home next time with a flower, because he knows that it makes you happy and brings you joy. And it's the way the soul works, and not the way I do this, you do that for me. And when the man understands this, this is what we call love. Then it goes back to, do we give through interaction of the fields for the other, or do we do to get something for it? To get something for it is a physical life. The way we give to see the joy is the dimension of the soul. I don't know if any of you remember a very, very old song years ago. The mother says the cost of love is called, I think. The mother says, the child asks the child to do something, and the child says, I want so much for me cleaning my bed or whatever. And the mother says, for giving birth to you, no charge. For looking after you, no charge. For teaching you, no charge. Because there's no charge out of the love of the mother. But it was important for the child if he did something to get paid for it physically, because he hasn't understood what the true love is as a mother. And this is very much true story about man. The love is the dimension of the soul, and the physicality to get something because you've done something is the dimension of man's life. And once we understand the difference, is the time when we have actually start graduating, and in a way change the name, mother and a child, and husband and wife and lovers, to the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of the man. And then you find the true essence of all these teachings. And how the soul of the man brings a man to a point for it to learn. And if it doesn't learn, he sets another scene to see if he'll learn from it next time. And in our time, the soul charges nothing, the soul of physicality. And this is the stage where we are. And we're trying to become aware of that love, that giving, and how it brings us to that point. And man has not understood it, as man is so physical. Now we are making systems that gradually, in the coming time, will show what is love, emotion of the soul. What is love, emotion of physicality. Then you can see it. Those of you who received the, what do you call it, the print of your soul, some of you baffled me when I saw the pictures, when the data came, and how your soul dominates your life, and then suddenly a flick of physicality brings you back, and then am I here? And you start again. And it's amazing how we see your switch off and how you switch on, and how suddenly you find balance, that soul, the soul of physicality and the physicality of the man run parallel with no expectation. And then you switch, and that switch brings disturbance, and we see the disturbance of the physicality, which then brings disturbance to the soul. Has to adjust to follow the physicality. As I said, NASA spent billions, and research universities spend trillions trying to ascertain what knowledge seekers has brought to the knowledge of the man with past 12-month sessions. Most of the graphs and pictures are kept, and is a pool of knowledge. How you react, how you feel. In Saturday on the 11th of November in London, we'll monitor the emotion, and I try to find out, to structure, to see the emotion of the presidents and the kings of the nations who their ambassadors are there. And we most probably display it if we get the opportunity. If a world leader says we are committed to peace, on a monitor, we all shall see if he's telling the truth or he's just fabricating. It's just to sound good. And it'll be an amazing structure of understanding. It'll be very interesting to see how we understand ourselves. For the session which is coming up, the transmutation, pre-transmutation of the soul, we bring in new dimensions of understanding your soul positions and interaction of it, which way it will take to move, and to what strength it will move, and how much it takes from us to move it. And when you switch off, the amazing thing with collective work with the souls and individuals, it has brought a lot of knowledge in how the system does not operate and how a system operates. As I explained in the last session, there were a few people which they went to the wrong link, and they had to be brought back into the common link where the others were. And the system will not start. And the minute the last person which went to the wrong place came to the right place, the system start functioning. And is as the soul of the system knew who has to be there through the soul. And we now see how the computer line sending a message is more or less irrelevant. And it's amazing, especially it took us the first, those of you who were in the last session on Friday, you realized the session went too long because some people couldn't get in or they went to the wrong link. I went to the wrong link and then I was told by the IT I'm in the wrong place, I have to come to this place. And we're trying to get this few people back into the right place. And the system would not, the graph which we take monitoring the souls would not change, still shut down. The second the last person came in, the system started operating. The soul of the system was aware of the operation. And we did this test a few times during the session. I especially set this up when I noticed it to see if we can do. If one of you falls out, in a way, the expansion of the soul is not there, the system stops. And we've seen it now, we see it categorically. When your expansion of the soul is not there to interact with our system doesn't show anything. It's just like a switch off. And this brought us a lot of wonders at the beginning. How come the sunny system switches off and we don't see anything? And we, setting the system, understanding the process, now we understand fully the operation, and now we're setting up another system to see which way it actually moves. We can see when you actually go through the dream phase, as you call it. We can see when the soul has expanded and interacts with our system. And suddenly in between you go for a coffee, your soul is still connected, physically goes for a coffee, but the system stays on. And when your soul expansion reduces, we go back. And I said to our team, in the back, just let it run till we see it comes back, because somewhere you come back in. And then I asked the people, oh, I received the calls, it was disturbed, I couldn't be there. And now we have a huge understanding on the systems we have developed physically to confirm this. As I said, you knowledge seekers worked with us hand in hand in past year and in past 2 years to literally develop a system which works on the operation of the soul of the man. This next 2 sessions which we put on for the transmutation, this is very important for us and for you, because now we should be able to set fully systems which we can transmute. We understand the full 360-degree dimension of the soul. And maybe next visits in what you call it, Beijing, you will go through that transmutation. Because now our team has understood, sees, set up, and goes through the next phase. And we clearly know it's like a runway, if I call it, We know which way you're coming, where you land, and how you take off. Now we have to make this precise. Does it depend on the dimension of the wind you land left to right? Or is it always right to left, doesn't matter which way the wind goes, but this time how it gets is what you call parameters of dimensions of the fields to go. When is the point of transmutation? That we can set the machine, this is the time, ready to transmute. We are literally there, we are 90% there. It's the final, maybe 3 months, 6 months, twitches of it to literally transmute you through the soul. Because we've seen the runway, we've seen the flight, we've seen the wind tunnel, we see which way the strength fields come and goes. It's our team have to understand it. Otherwise we jump and then something goes missing. It's the same with a new system we are developing. Can we get your soul inside the system and transmute the system, as always said, the envelope, and then open, release you back in the environment? There's a lot of understanding. There's a lot we never understood. There's a lot. Our systems have been upgraded. Most probably in London you see the first vertical system. Hopefully our team can finish it, where we can transmute from one to another. And gradually build this up to its final position next 3-6 months. And how we can allow our system to collaborate with you to reach that point. Take you from your bedroom and land you in middle of a football pitch where you want to watch the football. It is possible. Knowledge is understood. Our team has to catch up a little bit, and then we go back. The original work has to be to understood the strength of the origin. It's no use having the gans of copper and the gans of zinc and gans of this and that. We have to go back to the origin, and our team has to start understanding this origin. So if maybe in coming time, next 2 years, maybe next month, maybe 10 years, when our team understands, I was explaining yesterday to our knowledge seekers, that you want to see how does a plant feel being in the forest. You want to see how a dog feels being a dog. Now we have the knowledge, we can do that. We can allow you to travel in the dimension of the soul, for yourself to be that dog, for yourself to be that plant. It's a technology. We understand how in our systems, our understanding, we can tune to make calcium as a rock. We can tune our system to make calcium as in the cell of the man in the body of an entity. It's a totally different calcium. And we can make a calcium to be in the root of a plant or a leaf of a tree, to feel how that tree feels, to feel how the stone feels, and to feel how the man feels. This is a knowledge of creation. We don't think about it. We just got so used to it, nonsense, that it becomes nonsense to us. We go to a chemist we ask for a tablet of calcium. We give our blood test and they tell us there is elevation in your calcium level. And we go to the fruit shop and we buy a fruit or a plant, something, vegetation we eat, and they say if you did this, increases your calcium. But these calciums are different. One is a matter state that's a stone. One is in the state of the gas and state of what I call intelligence of the four-wheelers. And then the other one is the life structure of vertical people. We chose the same word, the same classification, the same name for the same thing, but actually operates, totally exists in 3-4 different dimensions. The calcium of the plasma is totally different than the rest. Up to now we talked about the bone, the vegetation or a stone. Now we have to add the calcium energy as a plasma, which creates all those. Depends what condition you give it. And now I cannot carry, up to now we had a problem of carrying different food for astronauts. I can't carry different buckets of gases. We have to understand the essence of origin of the creation. And we understood. And our knowledge seekers are getting taught. And with that, we don't need to carry gases. As I said to you, gases are out of game. But we have to play that game till our knowledge seekers understand. And it becomes a technology. And then you create a calcium as a stone in your kidney or in your wherever, where it should not be. How come you get the kidney stone? Because the condition of environment has changed. That now the calcium, instead of being as part of the four-legged protein, in that position is become a matter state. Science have never understood this. Now we can put a machine next to your kidney and create a condition of the four-legged and there is no stone. Do you need to go and have an operation or get it ultrasound crushed that you discharge and see the stone? Now with the knowledge which is in the hand of the Keshe Foundation, we just need to change the environment of the kidney and there is no stone. All these things we see with the operations, this and that, very soon become a thing of the past. Because now we have the knowledge, we understand what needs to be at the time of manifestation, even though it's the same element by the name of the man. These things are weeks away, months away, not decades away. And it's all of it goes back to understand the origin of the creation. Then you can make anything you like. Then you can absorb anything you like. Then you do not need to kill and destroy another for it to survive. And you give the same to the others, that they decide if they want it to be in the shape of a stone, energy, or a structure of their physicality when you give it to them. You can't give calcium in the shape of a stone and put it in the heart of another creature to kill it, because it doesn't work. He has to get the strength of the structure of his physicality. We're not needed the way you give it to him. He knows which part of the fields to use to convert. It's very much the same as what happened to your soul once it was created in the womb of the mother. The soul decides what the shape of the skin be and the shape of the bone if you have one leg short and two legs long. Then the children of the man in the future will be perfect. None of them will be born with the diseases and conditions we see today. All men shall be equal. The point of birth to death. What you do with it, how you give pleasure to the others to exist will count. And this time, all men are equal in the condition of essence of the soul. That's how I was said in the teaching. From a distance, you do not see the soul of a father, a king, or street sweeper, or a beggar. Now you understand. With technology, we show it, not with talks. There should be no mystery in the teaching. And when you become the teachers, you have to understand. You have to understand enough about the knowledge of creation that you do not need to jump into magics, to cover things, make assumptions, to be able you understood. Once you start making assumptions, you become a false teacher, exactly like Einstein. A true teacher, when you understand, is to make no assumptions and to be able to replicate it and to teach it. Is for your subject to appreciate the knowledge. And in a coming time, we'll teach you the essence of the base, the foundation, how to get there, how to understand where you start from. The clay of the plasma of the universe, for every created thing in the universe is the same. Is how you need it, what you add to it, and what you want to make out of that clay. A pot, a plate, a spoon, or a needle. Then is your decision of your conduct and balance of the fields of your conduct with others. Then there'll be no accidentally, by the way this happened, coincidentally, these words shall not exist in the vocabulary of the man in the future. And now we are building the systems. As I said last week, we asked many of you to go to the moon. You went to a place and you called the moon, but was it really the moon? But in the coming time, we'll send you to the moon. We put you next to the Indian government moon landers, and you touch it, you show us, you tell us what is written on it and what it is, even you cannot read Indian. And then, you know you're on the moon. And then we send you to find the American flag that they ever landed. Because then it's physical. You'll be able to do it. And then you know where you are. Are you really on the moon? Or is that the moon of your life you create? The knowledge is complete. It's for knowledge seekers to understand it, to convey the message and make systems for a physical man to be convinced of his own existence. Any other question?
Well, we have a couple of hands up here, but before we get to that, I'd like you to address the question from Cristiano, since you mentioned the soul of physicality and the soul of the man. His question goes like this. As you have already said many times and repeated in the last teaching, the stronger plasma always gives to the weaker plasma to make it equal to itself. So I ask, could the soul of physicality created by the soul of the man one day become a soul of the man too? And if that happens, what would the soul of the man look like without the soul of the physicality? Would the soul of the man have to create another soul of physicality, or would it happen naturally? Can I understand this whole process as nuclear decay?
Now I teach you something, or you already should know. First of all, when the strongest gives to the weakest gives what it doesn't need to the strongest. Because it's weak, the stronger fields which he has are no use to it. Because he hasn't got a foundation for it to build on, to hold on to. It's just there. So it's not a one-way traffic. It's a dual carriageway. It's a both ways. As much as the soul of man, which the stronger gives to the weaker gives to the stronger too. Is, as you see, the yin and yang, the lines goes in an infinity loop. It's both ways. Secondly, when that point reaches, that the soul of physicality reaches the level and equal to the what we call balance fields of the soul of the man, then they merge, and that is the point of creation as one. And as long as that this balance is there, the universe will create manifestation of physicality. And when the two reach balance, that they're equal, they merge and they create that oneness. The creator. And by a process of interaction, in due time, they create within themselves, through the interaction of the fields, a new unbalanced condition, which in turn will become a new condition within or outside. And we as souls strive to bring that point of balance, that we become one with our Creator. And if you understood this, the word of Muhammad is perfect. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You understood the essence of creation and the purpose of creation. And then you have a dilemma again. Your new dilemma is, now I create within me that loves me. And you end up with the same headache as us, creating mitra to be loved and to love. It's an ongoing process, it never finishes. The guy who created it still lives with the same dilemma from the time of its creation. And we call it God. And he had to create mitra to confirm his existence, otherwise it doesn't exist if he cannot be confirmed. And that is unconditional love to yourself, or in a way to what you love, which you call your lover. So if you strive to achieve and give enough, then you become one, you join, you become the essence of the creation. But again, look at the back of, I explained this in a very beautiful way in book 3. The interaction of the field of inside will lead to creation of new fields within that creates new life. Within or outside, depending on the strength field of it. You want to call it nuclear decay, you want to call it something else, but in a nuclear decay, you become new entities. In the process of the creation, you're the same, as Mitra is part of the create. And doesn't matter you call it the spare ribs and became Mitra or became Adam and Eve and the rest of it, whatever name you put to it, is an interaction of the fields. And when you have dynamic fields, inevitably they interact with each other, inside or outside. The creator become created, and then the created become the creator. And as I always said, I am the beginning, I'm the end. It depends where I stand. Any other question?
Okay, we have a hand up with Marinez here. Could you go ahead, Marinez?
Yes, thank you very much. Good day, Mr. Keshe, and thank you very much for all these teachings and constantly going on. I wanted to ask simply, how can I raise myself?
You know, it's a tradition in Iran, we give Khorman, they bless the dead souls elevate. You cannot do that. Go on the streets and give and say, their blessing is raises my soul. It comes from servitude, it comes from understanding no need what I need, as I receive when it's needed. And once you understand this, you have reached a point that you can elevate your soul. Thou shalt not steal, and as much as I cannot beg. When you start thinking how I can elevate my soul, is understand how the fields of the universe interact. Do I need what I'm holding on to as a fields, or am I leaving it free for the others to take what they need? That the cup is a little bit emptier, then I receive something if I need it by my own existence. If there's a time for it, if there is a need for it.
You see, because when you said about conflict, is that when there's conflict, you just go away and elevate the soul of that person, which I did in one case, and it worked. And
Why do you need to go away?
to just leave the conflict.
That's a way, one way to handle it. But you're happy that you left and it changed. How do you know that what you left created bigger mayhem for the one you left, even though later on you think it was okay and it's got sorted? One of the ways in a way, one of the ways to handle man's elevation of the soul is to understand one's operation of the soul. How you interact, how you give, you don't give. The secret in world of the plasma or creation is not to give. Once you start giving, you're in trouble. Once you make it available, you elevate. If You mature enough where you need it to elevate. And you can run for it all the time to give, but you become, they see as more worse than before. You know, as parents, as people, as in the physical dimension, the more we give to our children, the more they want, and it's always our fault that we haven't given enough. We give them the jacket on our back to keep them warm. They take the jacket and says, it's your problem, I'm warm, you shiver. But if we teach them that we share the jacket and we both keep warm, and it's there if you want to take it, but you have to think, is it correct for me to suffer for you to enjoy? Then the thing changes. And that's the same with the operation of the soul. You make it available. You don't give. You know, when you go to the shops, especially the Iranian shops, they always have a placard on the back of the cashier, the guy who you give money to. And it says, please don't ask for credit. That it'll be my shame to tell you no. You remember? It's still some time ago, the Iranian shops, you see this. In a way, I cannot handle it. If you ask for it, or I give it. And this is the way life is. We have to understand to make it available. But don't try to give it, that we think, oh, we give and we receive something else for it. There is no greed in the dimension of the soul. And there should be no shame in making it available, but not to give it. It's, we all know about the situation that man always, the more it gives, the worse he becomes from the eye of the others, because he hasn't given enough. And you cannot buy elevate yourself. You have to make it available, and you find out you reach a point of maturity much, much faster than trying to give. If you look at it, I brought that into the Keshe Foundation structural work. We don't give any of your certificate of education when you go through the Keshe Foundation. None of you have received a certificate of education from me. Because what have you educated yourself with? To the material state, or understanding the work of the field of the universe? And when would you use it? When you use it, is it to suit you or to suit the elevation of others? That's your exam time. That's your point of graduation. And I don't know anybody who has graduated in the world of the creation yet, except him. And he doesn't teach it to no one. Because he's given everything. He doesn't need to teach. And how do you elevate yourself? How do you know that you haven't already been elevated? Or you're actually at the bottom of a pit, you think you're on the top. Any other question?
Were you complete, Mehran? I muted you there because there was some feedback. I think she's okay. Okay, I'll mute you again there. Okay. see here. We have some other questions in the Q&A. Perhaps we can get some answers. We have Jefferson who says, good morning, Mr. Keshe. My name is Jefferson Modesto. I'm from Brazil. Thank you very much for your presence among us. My question is, what happens to schizophrenics who go through the transmutation process the moment they recreate physically at the point of arrival? Do they recreate just one physicality, or can they recreate more than one physicality depending on the number of souls that live together?
I have explained this before. It's not the first time this question has risen. This works in a very different way than you can think. The soul of physicality is shared amongst the soul of the what I call tenets of the physicality. And in that point, they all share equal. And usually this creates a beautiful condition where in the normal physical dimension of the man as one soul and one soul of physicality and physicality, you have a balanced field in a much maybe stronger, maybe in a way higher level of strength in the dimension of physicality. In the condition of what we call beautiful people, that still stays the same, because the field of the universe, in accordance to the fields of the physicality of the man and dimension of the soul of physicality is a plasma. It's not matter state. The best way I can explain it is, you get a piece of magnet and break it to many pieces. Is the strength of the magnet any different in each piece? And that should give you the answer. The souls will take their position, but the soul of physicality, in sharing amongst those who created it, already has a dimension of interaction with each one. So everyone takes with them in the strength according to what they had. In a way, if you understand it, I explain it in a very simple way. When you have beautiful people, you have 2 or 3 different souls. One is intelligent, one is male, one is female. And when that soul speaks in the dimension of physicality, it speaks with intelligence. The one which is a woman behaves like a woman, and the one which is a man behaves like a man. So when it comes to the dimension of the separation or point of death, you call it, the same self, the same structure of the emotion of soul of physicality will carry on with that soul of the man or entity which has interacted to all the time. And it's like a magnet. Doesn't matter how you cut it. It's just different size and shapes. But in essence, it's the same. So it doesn't split it, but it operates through the same strength, the same field. This goes back to understanding, as I said a few minutes ago, understanding the origin of the creation, how we are created. For the first time, I explained this to one of our knowledge seekers in the past few days. Then we understand. And maybe in the upcoming time, in the future, as we develop more, as knowledge seekers who understand this, will make condition facilities for these souls engaged in one physicality to be able for us to create a condition to manifest themselves as individuals. In a way, we give them the elevation of the soul that allows them to create a condition of the separation of the physicality and the solar physicality. As many of you know, I have worked in this field for many years. I have a very in-depth knowledge with this condition. And I asked one of these guys once a simple question. They speak about their dream. Let's say they went to see the uncle, or they went dancing. I asked them, which of you went dancing? Who had the dream of dancing? Which one of you, Jack, Jill, Tom, was actually dreaming about seeing the uncle? And because I have built a process that I can speak to each individual, I asked Tom, did you see this dream? He says, no, that wasn't my dream. I asked Jill, no, it was him. It's his dream. So we know they carry a totally different individuality. Just because you had a dream of your child doesn't mean your wife in the bed at the same time had the dream, same child, and was in the same position. The difference is, as I said, we're all as the souls of beautiful people in the same bed, but it's only one bed, but different people with their own character. It's, what do you call it, 5 monkeys on the bed, and they were jumping up and down. Now one fell off the bed. Did the other 4 monkeys feel the fall and the pain of the one which fell? And this is the way we understand in the future. The knowledge is there. The beautiful thing about this is, yesterday, as I said, you will see hopefully the vertical transmutation system. I was looking at the system, and one of the things which goes through my mind every time I see these systems hanging around the lab at Keshe Foundation is what happened when we put one of these beautiful people in the system. Would we get 2 or 3 in the other one? Would we give the chance for them to manifest themselves in dimension? And then go back to the authorities and say, can we have 2 new passports, 2 new birth certificates? And the worst thing is to tell mom, all 3 are here this time. These are not the dilemmas, but these are the realities that the man has to face with understanding this process. Can we give individuality to the one physicality, but combination of the souls? If we put triplets in the system, we get triplets outside. But because they're in dimension of physicality of their own, What about this time when we put triplet souls in one physicality? And the knowledge we have, we can give them all life and freedom from the pain of existence, of sharing one growth. These are the dilemmas which the governments have to sort. But it's the reality which is upon us. It's just when we be able to deliver these systems scientifically to complete the cycle. Are they hallucinating, or are they actually physical people within? Once you do the transmutation from one unit to another, you know. It's like you know how you are and how you feel till you walk the streets of Amsterdam and everybody is smoking weed. You same body, but you go to a different dimension because even though you don't smoke it, they already feel the atmosphere with it. What do we fill up the atmosphere of the systems to create that condition? Is it reality or is it a mirage? Because of the other conditions created. And would we be able to give identity to the history? Is our society ready to accept the extension of the knowledge? And are we ourselves mature enough to understand the process? And the most strangest thing is, if you have spent enough time with these people, is when you acknowledge their existence, how they manifest themselves, and how much they want to hold on to be able to manifest, to show they're there. When you sit in front of these beautiful people with 2 or 3 souls in them, sometimes, quite often, when the one you ask for to speak to confront, the other one wants to speak as well because they have an opinion in what you said to her or him. And he says to them, just wait, I'm talking. You can talk later. If you're not wise to it, you think it's crazy, but in fact, there's an interaction of the soul inside talking to each other. I want to answer him, I want to. And then sometimes, okay, you talk and then I come back. And then they come back and says, what about this? Why don't I get my sweets? And all the time she gets her favorite because they think it's her. Okay, I arrange next time, then you get the sweet as well. And they eat the different sweets. It's amazing how man has the ignorance to the process of creation when it comes to the beautiful people. And in a way, we are ignorant to our own operation of our own soul, let alone understanding the extension into its process of creation. Any other question?
Yes, from Buttes Michael in our Q&A here. Go ahead. Okay. He has 3 questions. They're in German. I've translated them. I think you might have already answered.
Are passing more than what do you call it, Jalal. Jalal was happy with 2, now it's 3 or 4.
I think you might have already answered the first one last week or the week before, which was how many head units can you operate with one compact unit? And how does my head unit know that it should connect to my compact unit and not to the neighbor's compact unit?
We have brought out, last week, if you remember, let me go. What's what? Put this share photos. If you remember, last week we shared with you this, and the systems are all finished and been put to final assembly. And this has a problem, especially when it comes to the two system which you see to hold on. The new version, maybe, I don't know if our team in the background can show it, they have it already ready, gets away with these two wires which are hanging from the ear. This system are so individual that now these two handheld units are attached to the white one, so you don't have this loose bits hanging. In a way, the system and the soul become one. So when you can use it as a free set, or you get these two attached to the side of the body, it's connected totally to a different system, it's not connected to the head unit, and you hold the wide unit. It's a much more powerful, it's a totally different, what do you call it, strength of the fields. Much more stronger in elevation of the soul. Then you leave a fingerprint on this system, which is yours. The way we bring you to Linz and we say we want to collect the collection of the knowledge, then would you like to bring other things into it from the others? This way we have made it very individual, because there is a huge step forward in the knowledge when you understand this, and we monitored it on the screen, what effect will have. You deal with the much more powerful system. So I don't know if our team in the background are listening, and if they have a unit ready, we could have a look at. You will see that this is what's the problem with the Keshe Foundation technology. It's such a rapid progressive development that whenever we do, we still have other developments adding to the knowledge which we immediately implement. So now, especially with what is coming out now, the system attached to this wide unit is connected totally different. You got to understand, this wire connection, the headphone, is connected to the headphone with what you hold in the hand. Now it's connected to the transmitter, which creates a totally different dimension of work. It allows rapid expansion in a much more powerful way. And this make it individual. More or less, with this change, as it stands now, I advise you not to share. Because it has a structure which is embedded in it, and you can share that in the other side. Our, what do you call, the wellness units will be done in a different way, that multiples can use this individual use, and it can be done. When you were in, what do you call it, Linz, we showed you a way how to zero it, to put it back on. But with this, is becoming individually impossible to zero it. But with the wellness units, it changes to a different structure again, but it can be used multiple. So my advice to you is, do not mix, especially once you start receiving the new ones as they are going out, getting done, to start getting released. And this is a development in 1-2 weeks. Even everything was built and done, the knowledge was understood and then added. So no, please stay to 1 unit per person. As now it's directly, in a way, you with you. In a way, if you understand what has happened, is the headphone expands your soul. The white unit in your hand is when I told you, hold your hand, and you see the ball in it. Now I gave you that opportunity to do so. And your soul dictates what is in your head. I gave you that support, that extra strength that allows you to decide. And you want to have somebody else's decision, which is already embedded in the GANs in there. Is a leap. This, as is done by our technician, we just add to as our people knowledge is understand, we add. And it brings it closer and closer to the what it was done. So the next unit, the units you receive, doesn't have these extensions. It's actually connected to the white unit, which connects you, as I said, always so you hold your hand and create a light in it. I created that light in that box for you. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, we have a question from Johan in YouTube before you began that last session, last answer. And this person asks one more question if you have time. What merit would we have in using technology to elevate our souls instead of doing this alchemical process naturally? Isn't this seen as cheating in the eyes of God? So where your headphone unit's cheating?
Understanding is not cheating. Understanding is not cheating. Do you cheat when you go to school to learn something? Since when knowledge has become a cheat? Unless you want to use it that way to cheat others, then you have to answer. Any other question? Just 1 second, I have to do something. 1 second, please. Sorry, carry on.
Okay. We had another question from Buttes about the, he says, since the compact unit is purely a communication device, the problem of energy remains. Does the Keshe Foundation already have energy units that work and are delivered?
We are in the same position with the energy unit. The new systems just keep on getting added. But now our energy units will go all to China. Then in my upcoming travel to China, we'll complete that. We go for the deliveries and production from China. We want to produce a few pieces. Chinese talk about hundreds of thousands and millions. and is upgrading. This unit you see you have can receive energies from our headquarters to become an energy unit. It's set up that way, and we'll teach you how to do it in the upcoming time. The energy unit, because it's totally different understanding if you listen to the other teachings I've done in the past. But this can be used as in the future as an energy unit. We show you how and how you can do it. There are tests going on already, even today, for this transport, what they call it, the use of, we control everything from the center, and how we feed you becomes that process. This technology, this as I said, we have a huge problem in Keshe. We had it for years. We're developing, and every time we go to manufacture, we find what we manufacture or process of manufacturing is obsolete to what is gathered. And then people ask for a new version. So we draw a line, and this line comes with Chinese operation of the Keshe Foundation in production China by beginning of next year to complete the energy transfer, but totally different. You will see the energy production unit in London, the new plasma energy unit, and then you will see hundreds of thousands of watts can be produced from one system. And the conversion of the AC/DCs is the other part which is done. It's not that we don't have, even this new system is still getting developed and what do you call it, upgraded, because we see more ways to do things. We are planning, if we succeed, our team be able to show creation of life in London. And if we don't manage to do it, we'll surely, once our team understand how to do it, it will be shown in Beijing. The manifestation of the fish I promised you, we try to show you in London. The knowledge has been transferred to our knowledge seekers, and they have to complete it. With one drop, we shall create a fish which you then understand how creation is. And this is part of the same energy transfer.
We had a question from my own about that kind of thing. You told us that Parkinson's can be processed, among many others, in just a few minutes. If it can already be done, what should a patient with such a problem do? Thank you very much.
Contact Keshe Foundation through the normal channels. Let me explain. It's a very good question you put in. As you know, many knowledge seekers participated or purchased or jointly purchased the obesos. Those obesos would become a very cumbersome thing to do. We changed this to agencies. All the knowledge seekers who purchase obesos now have been changed to licensing agencies. And from now on, it becomes very fast because we will shift the small units to them to be able to meet the people who need it. If you have a Parkinson, to go to one of these agents for wellness, and then they put this through to our, what do you call it, the operational center with the doctors. So first of all, you contact Keshe Foundation. At the moment, you go through the process of the headphones, but in the near future, as the systems now are getting produced and getting dispatched, you go to the agents, and they, as agent, they just provide the facility to use the system in operation with the what we call our central command, I call it. We will release in a very short time a list of doctors and people who board systems or take licenses to bring doctors in, because everything is done through operation of the doctors through the wellness. And if you're a doctor and you want to use the facilities of the Keshe Foundation, now it's become worldwide available. Go through the Keshe Foundation info and set up your, the licensing and whatever, and to be able to bring your, people to be able to use the technology. You have a Parkinson, get in touch with one of the agents or go directly to the Keshe Foundation, and they send you to these people in different areas which they have the license agreement with us. As I told you, everything we've set up in the past now gradually is taking shape. Our team are working backwards, bending backwards to get these things sorted. And then we are bringing in more doctors in the background to be able to handle this. In the next few weeks, 24-hour operation becomes necessary. Language doctors will become necessary as we see it now, that the Spanish language will have the doctors who operate with them, the Italians the same, or the French. And if you're a medical doctor, you have to be a medical doctor. And you can meet our licensing conditions. You're quite welcome from now on to join the wellness structure of the system, which is set up and run by the doctors. We just facilitate our technologies delivered to them, and you use the technology facilities. So you have a Parkinson for the next few days or a couple of weeks. Get in touch with the Keshe Foundation. We put you to the area of the license which covers, and then they organize it through the, the Keshe Foundation Service Center. And it can be very, very fast and effective done, and then we have to increase the number of the systems to be able to meet the demand. And I know a lot of doctors in the past requested if they can join the system. Now we are getting ready. We are ready to go in that direction, as now we change everything into licenses and the systems are set up and the facilities are in operation. Write to us again if you're doctors who want to use it, and if you meet our licensing agreements with the with the operation, we now meet most of the demand. You got to realize our systems are at their infancy and our doctors are learning more. We provide the technology to them and how they operate it and how they see it. And I'm sure we'll gain a lot from them because we get the feedback and we see how things take shape. Go through info@keshe.foundation, or I think it's called health@keshe.foundation, and they put you to then the license holders in the area you are, and then everything now goes through area by area. Unless we don't have anybody in the area, you still deal with the wellness center, service center, and the doctors there handling the situation.
I think one of the addresses was health@spaceshipinstitute.org.
Yes, that's one of them, yeah.
Right.
But in next couple of weeks, a list of license holders will be released. And these license holders, as they receive their systems, they can start operating with you what you need. These are not doctors, or if they are doctors, they still refer you back to the center where the doctors operate, because it's their decision. It's very much as you go to an insurance company and they put you in touch with the doctor where the system is. It's the same kind of. But we are ready for it. We set things up, and now it took 2 or 3 years. Now we are ready. The technology is ready, but even our systems are evolving so rapidly that when I look at what it looks very advanced technology, what we shared with you in the past, it's more or less surpassed by the new, what we call technologies which are getting developed. And the systems are getting upgraded. Even when you look at these units, the head units, the small white ones, these have totally changed inside. A much, much powerful system, much more effective system. And as I said, what you see on the table on this floor has the capacity to change quite a lot. Even in the past, I was looking at these units. I think if you came to Linz, you saw the unit, and you will see the units in London, you see the change. Physically, you can see the evolution, development, and leap in technology. Any other questions?
I had a question from Utah who said, I was at the soul session and received a picture of my soul from the Keshe Foundation. I can interpret the upper part, but not the lower part. Can you say something more about this?
The lower part is our job, not yours. It's our systems. The upper part is yours. If we do, when we do the next sessions, which is coming up for transmutation, we even added more into this screen pieces in the printout. More has been added to find out how and when you leave your soul, or collectively you expand your soul, not to leave it, but you expand it. And the upper part, the green line, is the characteristic of the soul of the man. The yellow one is the characteristic of the physicality, and the pink one is the characteristic of the soul of physicality. You have a blue line which runs in the same screen. This is to do with our, system operation. And that's for us to know what's happening in the background with it. The bottom one is the way our system is set up, and has totally different meaning for us. It's nothing to do with the top. From your point of view, but it has a lot to do with the top from our operational point. You should have received the link with explaining this in past couple of days. 2 or 3 of you or 4 of you missed the session by falling asleep and other things, or could not connect. We'll give you a new date sometime next week or 2 for all of you to be in one session. We allocate one afternoon for this to be done. You haven't missed it. And thank you very much. We learned a lot about our system, your emotion, how you react, and how we need to. That's why these new sessions were added this week for the what we call pre-transmutation. The people who come into the new session in next couple of weeks, you will have a fascinating time. And it'll be one of the most beautiful things, because now we start connecting to be able to give that what we call helping hand, step up, to go through that step of transmutation. And we want to see how it looks and how it is and how you feel afterwards. And it gives you a new dimension of understanding of the operation of your own soul for you. Any other question?
You know, we're getting kind of overextended here a bit, but I'd like to jump to a question from Cristiano, who has a question from the Bianca from the Brazilian community. And I think it affects people all over the planet right now. What can I do to stop drug trafficking in front of my workplace? Is there a plasmatic solution?
A lot. This situation has to be handled by governments. This situation needs to be handled by governments. And somewhere down the line, we'll come to it. You are in front of your work office, you see a snapshot of a chain. A lot needs to be done on both ends, and a lot needs to change inside the government. Many officials at the highest level in some governments are part of this structure. Then you understand the scale of the problem. They benefit by it. They are facilitators. From president to the ministers and the rest. And to change this needs a lot of work. And we will look into, or we have planned to bring this into discussion in part of our work with government. The technology has three options with this situation. We can, through mass communication, the same you use your headphones, change the soul of the user. Elevate. That, like we did the addiction with you at the trial. I mean, if you stop chocolates, whatever. The other way is to change what you call the supply end, which is very hard. The user end damage we know because they're there. The supplier end is a very difficult part to do, and there's a lot of hidden things in it, and people facilitated by it. I know this very well because I used to work with British drug trafficking structure for years as part of one of my companies. It's huge. It's impossible to pin it down. They find another way, and you don't know where it comes from. And the other option, which is the easiest one, but the hardest one, but it needs national governments to become wise to it, is to change the characteristics of material in shipment. And that's the easiest way, because if we help the ones who are addicted on one end, the supply chain will find others to become addicted. On the supply end, if we change in one, there's others who take over. The easiest way is change of characteristics in transit. This technology we have. And we understand how to apply it, but it needs support of all the nations in United Nations. Cannot be done to find infringement. And it needs support of nations like Iran, Russia, China, United States, French, Brazilian government, and Japanese, to work collectively. These are the main operators of the satellites and some submarine units, that the same as we what I call shown the power of technology by the American Donald Duck in, what do you call it, a few years ago. It's the same kind of principle of work, where we have to combine satellites with submarines, in interaction of the fields with a lot of other things, tracking systems, to work together. The knowledge is there, the technology is there, to create a conversion. It's very much in another strength, is like the way we did with Fukushima, converting cesium level of tritium and into gold, where damage became a profit. And this will create a mayhem in operation of many governments. The knowledge is there, the technology is there, is how in the coming time world governments collectively decide to bring an end to this. We change the consumer side, they go to the younger, to go to the others, they find another trick. We go to the supply side, it's so vast that you don't know, they come with another. Now we have these, what do you call, exotic drugs. They have names for it, different names coming into the market. And they all have a chain connection. And Keshe Foundation has access to that chain connection. And we have identified it years ago. And this has to be restructured. This needs to be restructured and needs government. It needs, you have drug trafficking which goes in Afghanistan, which is financed by the British monarchy for centuries. All the profit from drug trafficking in what now in the hand of the Taliban is a direct profit, goes in a direct, indirect way into the, not the British government, but the British monarchy. They used it to paralyze China, to get Hong Kong centuries ago. And all of it goes, and British structure has worked that way. Then you have the cartels in South America, which is a different structure. Now we see the youngsters coming up with the chemicals that they're posting in the envelopes around the world. Then police is becoming, and the intelligence systems are becoming wise to it. There's new drug, fancy drugs which are coming in the market. Then you have the operation of the, what we call local operations in Africa. And then you have Central Asia drug structure, which they produce their own, which is not known in the West because it's localized in certain areas of the East Asia. And these all need to be handled as one cooperation, and it can be done over 6 months, a year, to close this chain of things. And at the same time, we need operation of the what we call communication systems, like operators, to allow us to reach the ones who have been abused, to be fixed too, through the mobile phones and through the operation of the radio stations and all sorts, which is available to Keshe Foundation and the both governments need to do. It's a menace, but there is a solution for it. We've shown it in Fukushima. We've shown it in what do you call capture of the Americans in the on the high seas, as we call it, in Black Sea a few years ago, and others which will come, will show. And this needs a lot of help from military to support it, to implement it. We cannot stop the situation with the donkeys which they carry things across borders or in the cars, but we can create a condition to change this in transit. But it needs a lot of work, a lot of work. I know about this situation because I used to be involved in a very deep way with the British drug trafficking government side, for years in England. Trafficking we monitored from, we identified, we were the very first organization identified how they traffic from South America into Africa and West Coast. We identified the routes, everything else with the British government, and we stopped some of it. I can give you the date that the system came in, and it's in public, but public doesn't understand why it's done. If you know the reason behind it, is a lot done by the governments to stop trafficking. But the biggest problem we have inside the governments, we have people who work with these people. And this is one of the biggest problems. In Britain, on average, every year, around 3,000 to 4,000 vehicles are confiscated by drug trafficking, the structure of the British, which are used for this purpose. It's a huge business. Every day, about 10 to 20 vehicles, from trucks to boats to individual cars to bikes, are confiscated by one government in England. I used to be in this structure. I know exactly how it's done, and people who are around me, work with my other companies, knows what we do, what we've done. It's very, very difficult. You have to handle the transport side to change the characteristics, and then you have to deal with the people on the user side. When you handle these, suppliers have nowhere to go, the supply dies. And this is a more effective way to do it. For years I ran this operation with British Narcotic Division of the British government. My companies were set up to sort this out, and it was part of our operation. I know this extremely well. And then we see how we can go and how we'll come. It's very detailed work, and we have enough experience, and I can bring my other companies, which now still operate in the back of it with the British government, to give a supporting hand. It's all mapped out. Every cartel, every line, everything is all the Russians, the Chinese. We know the whole route. Over 30 years we mapped this out. Any other question?
Well, there's a few more if you still want to continue. There's still game.
Yeah, I have to. I've got some of the things to say into. Thank you very much for today. Please, there will not be any more seats available unless you go through the promotion companies for the event on Saturday, the 11th. And depends how they do it. It still goes through the Keshe Foundation, but they have a say into it. And you will probably see the advertising of the 11/11 on international media and international channels. Don't be surprised. We brought, as I told you, we become professionals with it. We give it in the hand of people who can do. Then knowledge seekers writing to embassies. We still come to the Universal Council for their support. And the knowledge seekers who want to do it, but now is in the hand of one of the largest promoting companies in the world, who have taken up with the greatest of pleasure. It's amazing when you speak to them. They understood the essence of the conference, and it shakes them. I was talking to one of the heads last night, 2 or 3 o'clock this morning, and she was literally crying on the phone. That what the change this will bring, and we want to be part of it. And we make sure the world will know when the change is coming in. Let's see where we go and how we'll bring this to a conclusion in time to come. Thank you very much, Rick, and see you next time.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe, once again, for yet another Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, September 21st, 2023, number 504. We look forward to 505 next week, same time and place, as far as we know. And our next public teaching workshop is the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice. And that's coming up on Tuesday, September 26th, 2023, starting at 4 p.m. Central European Time. So that's with members of the Universal Council, and people are welcome to join in and learn more about the soul presentations in that venue. Okay, thanks everyone for being here today, and see you in the next public teaching workshop. We'll go out with our usual flight enhancement spaceship unit music version. May you all have a good day, night, or morning, depending where you are, and bye for now.